The extra-medical curriculum Case 1, Why Do Doctors Lie? We're looking at the parallel videos, and this is video 6a. There is a disclaimer for you to look at on freeze frame. There's the Lord's Prayer in Latin, and there is a tribute to Socrates and Plato. But what I'm wanting to look at is justice, the principles and the practice of justice as delivered to the people of Hong Kong. What is actually put on those scales? How do the principles and practice meet in terms of the needs and expectations of the people of Hong Kong? We certainly have considerable freedom to look at such issues, and we shouldn't be distracted by challenging those who've granted this freedom. We should be using that freedom responsibly and effectively to achieve something positive. We have the freedom. Do we have the justice? And history should tell our students that democracy is not something that we should be striving for at this time. Rather, let us look for a justice based on truth that is sought without bias or prejudice. Justice based on truth that is based on facts. A truth that is discovered and not predetermined. There are these two different types of truths, and the more Western concept is that truth based on facts, verifiable facts. A more Eastern view is that truth is conditional upon benefit. And when the truth is determined in the absence of fact, when it's determined on the balance of probability, we have a problem. Deng Xiaoping went to France in his teens to learn what he could bring back to China, to help China overcome some of the considerable challenges that faces the world's most populous nation. Repeatedly he would say, seek truth from facts. Get the facts, examine them. They may be true, they may be false, but examine them and then determine the truth from the facts. Then there is justice. The balance of probability, well, that is a legal term. That is a term that is used to talk about the burden of proof, but it is used, or it should be used, to assess the evidence that is not proven. Often it's a credibility issue. Should that credibility be based on rumor and gossip or based on verifiable truth? The hospital appeal panel has shown in a tragic illustration how deficient the delivery of justice is in Hong Kong. They've had a very difficult job to do, and they have used language so vague that I've asked clarification. Do they substantiate the allegation made? Yes or no? They say that there were differences in the accounts. They don't specify what they understand by being let out was. They do acknowledge there were no witnesses, and yet they can say it was clear to the panel. Was it the same clarity that was achieved by the investigation panel altering the witness testimony? We don't know. They say they've considered the evidence, but don't say what evidence they've considered. They talk about a code which is not appropriate when considering evidence. It is either right or wrong. And if they can't decide, they've got to look at the balance of probabilities, but they have to do that in the context of the facts. And they say they couldn't make any findings as to precise details because there was no evidence. And yet they're satisfied on the balance of probabilities that something happened. Not the allegation that Dr. David Wong Sau-yan made. No, it was a failure to maintain a harmonious work environment. Now that is becoming farcical. And to think that they can close that episode in history by saying they're going to take no further action on this occasion, that is farcical. There's a big problem. They talk about the balance of probabilities, that the relationship was in some respects difficult. That is documented fact. And whilst proven facts may have a role in determining the balance of probability, it is not a case to do it the other way around. They have to seek the truth from facts and acknowledge that the facts may not be what they want to find. And certainly to find that they have a dishonest doctor who is making false and malicious allegations. They don't want to acknowledge that, but that is the truth. So I'm asking Carson Leung to clarify something which I know he can't. They talk about the balance of probability, but there is no mention about the balance of evidence, the overwhelming evidence that the allegation was false, that Dr. David Wong Sau-yan is dishonest, and that he has made a practice of his dishonesty in making false and malicious allegations. It's tragic. They've just not looked at the evidence. And the balance of probability is only applicable for doubtful evidence. There's plenty of proven fact, and the evidence for the allegation, well, there is none, absolutely none. the evidence against the allegation, there is considerable evidence that the allegation is false and malicious. What is disputed? We need to know what is disputed, because only if we identify what is disputed, only then can we look at the balance of probability that that disputed fact either supplements or detracts from the proven evidence. But it can't supplant it. The overwhelming evidence is that the allegation made by Dr. David Wong Sau-yan was false and malicious, and that he is a dishonest doctor, disreputable doctor, a disgrace to the medical profession. What the appeal panel has looked at the balance of probability without the context of proven fact. They've made it a gamble, a speculative guess. That is anything but justice. That is an injustice. They've avoided looking at the preponderance of evidence. That's not good enough for Hong Kong. If we don't have justice, then there is corruption, a pervasive corruption that is affecting professional life and the laws of Hong Kong. And we need to call upon the Department of Justice to do something about this. And we'll talk about that in the further videos.